All right, y'all, right now I'm at Grays Bay Dam Park. It is absolutely beautiful. The road to get here is something else. If you like looking at cool homes, it is a beautiful little just windy trail to get down here, looking at some of the most beautiful homes in all of the Twin Cities. And we're talking Minnetonka, which is one of the most sought after, desirable spots in the Twin Cities for a ton of reasons, not the least of which is its namesake, Minnetonka, Lake Minnetonka. You have access to one of the most well-enjoyed recreational lakes in all of Minnesota. I mean, this is just an inlet, right? This is just a bay, Grays Bay. It's tricky. And the folks who live here, they have the benefit of basically no wake, very minimal wake, lakeshore, beautiful homes. I don't know if you can see any of these homes really behind me. I'm sure you'll see it in the B-roll, but holy cow, beautiful. Let's dive in, Minnetonka. How's it going, y'all? My name is Jesse Lynch, and I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. If you don't know, well, now you know. And we're called To the Twin Cities, as is this YouTube channel. But you can check out the real estate team at tothetwincities.com. And this channel, it's all about helping you find a place to call home, whether you're buying a house for the first time, so it's just sort of first-time home buyer stuff, or you're relocating here from a different city, state, country, dimension, whatever it is. The relocation side, first-time home buyer side, and very often both at once. That's what we do, and that's what we do better than anybody else. So if either of those things appeal to you, then do us both a favor, subscribe to this channel, and click that bell to get notified so you can see every time we put out a video, just like today's, which we're talking Minnetonka, Minnesota. I've already done a video on Minnetonka quite some time ago. Thought we'd do it again in the fall while we have some beautiful fall colors, although it is getting a little late in the fall. Right back here is the general store. It's like such a cute, unique sort of shop with just so many different things. And I'm willing to bet that Amber will talk about it because she definitely loves this place. But before we go, I would just like to say, if you're thinking about moving here, if you're trying to buy a house, get a hold of us. We will crush it for you. You can go to our website, tothetwincities.com, and we have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds, or you can shoot us an email directly to info@tothetwincities.com. They lead to the same inbox, so it's completely up to you how you do it. We just ask that you do. But all right, what do you say? Shall we get going? Minnetonka, pretty dope. All right, let's go for a drive.
Hey friends, we are out here at Shady Oak Beach in beautiful Minnetonka. This park is awesome. I used to walk my dogs here all the time. I used to come here for runs all the time when I lived here. Beautiful paths, like a mix of forest and some sort of paved paths, so it's like a nice variety.
Yeah.
Water is everywhere, beautiful bridges. We're about to approach one, and it's just the vibe is really relaxed.
It's so easy to get to,
Yeah.
too, like just so like kind of central and
Yep.
and just effortless. Nice parking lot, like all those like very just general conveniences,
Yeah.
you know, porta potties, whatever.
Things you don't think about. You're like, oh man, how am I gonna find parking? It's just easy, and it's free.
Easy.
So it's, yeah, definitely amazing.
And it is, it's quite stunning. The homes on here are beautiful. It's cool bird noise.
Crazy birds.
Yeah. But yeah, this is just like, it's interesting to be shooting here and not on Minnetonka. But Minnetonka the city is more than just the lake, right?
Absolutely, totally agree. There's tons of great shops. The neighborhoods are so diverse, I would say. I mean, just with the looks of them, they just look so crazy different.
Economically diverse too.
Absolutely. And then it's just the parks. I mean, the park systems, you can go to somewhere where it's very wooded, and then you can go somewhere that's just much more open, paved paths, easy for any age range to come to. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot, like truly one of the prettiest suburbs in the Twin Cities. We recently did Eden Prairie. I said that also, where I said Eden Prairie I think is like one of my top 5 most beautiful suburbs. I think that's true of Minnetonka too.
Yeah, I mean they're right next door neighbors to one another, so easy to access with each other.
Kind of similar topography, geography, a lot of lakes, a lot of sort of forested areas.
Yep.
That's
Lots of beautiful landscape areas.
That's like what it's about.
But mature trees.
Yeah.
It's not like, just boom, brand new. It's like, this has been here for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of very stunning homes, like very interesting, architecturally interesting homes. But then some neighborhoods that are like, more like builder tract style homes. So a little more on the affordable side, especially as you get further east, I would say,
yes,
right?
Totally agree. All right, geographically, Minnetonka is west of the cities. When I was living here, it feels just like a hop, skip, and a jump. It's 20 minutes to Minneapolis, about 30 minutes to downtown St. Paul. I don't know, it's a beautiful drive too. It's like kind of going from the suburbs to the beautiful architecture of the city.
And yeah, actually, most of the drive, it's like on highways, but not the main highways. Pretty chill drive over here. I'm out on like the west side of Minneapolis. It's so close. It's 15 minutes maybe. Like super easy to get here.
It's way easy to hit all the big lakes that you want to walk your dogs around them. You can go for a run around them. Yeah, it's like 15 minutes. It's so fast.
Yeah, and you're not dealing with like crazy rush hour. It gets rush hour, but it's not 4 lanes packed side to side.
True.
Not that we get all that much of that here anyway, but definitely better than like a 62 or 494 or something like that.
And if you find yourself getting stuck in a little bit of traffic, there's a lot of awesome restaurants around here that you can just pull off to and get yourself a yummy delicious.
True. Minnetonka is known pretty well for having great restaurants and great shopping as well, right? Like Ridgedale, like there's it's very
big mall.
Yeah, very suburban in that way, but like a lot of stuff going on, a little bit of a destination sort of situation going on.
I will say one of my favorite spots of all time is the general store. Literally anything and everything you could think of. For the person who is the hardest to shop for, you will find something there. And you will find yourself lost in there for about 3 hours, but it'll be such a fun trip.
I love that. Yeah, it's obviously it's beautiful. It's not too huge, but a decent population. 54-ish thousand people. Pretty dense, but plenty.
It doesn't feel crowded.
Like plenty of like sort of shoulder room, right? Like where you're not like stacked on top of each other. But it's pretty full. Not a whole lot of vacant land left, or anything like that. People are scraping homes if they want to build new within the boundaries of Minnetonka. But it's super, super nice, and it also has some of the best schools in the Twin Cities.
It does.
Hard stop. Pretty much whatever list or website or statistic collection you'll look at, Minnetonka will be rated extremely high in schools, usually top 5, kind of no matter what you're looking at, and they are indeed known to be extremely good schools. Specifically, there's actually 3 school districts that serve Minnetonka, but mostly it's Minnetonka Public School District. A little bit of Wayzata Public School District serves part of Minnetonka, kind of the northwestern portion of Minnetonka. And then again, Minnetonka serves most of Minnetonka, naturally. And then Hopkins serves like a sort of central, northeastern, east central part. And Minnetonka and like Wayzata, those school districts are pretty much constantly like neck and neck for being the best schools in Minnesota.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're going to be some of your top rated schools by far. With Hopkins, a little bit farther down the line, but still a really great school.
Yeah, and specifically Wayzata is ranked like 46th best school district in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild statistic.
Absolutely.
But Minnetonka is number 81 in the U.S.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of school districts out there.
There is, and I have a lot of friends whose kids go there, and they just rave about how wonderful all the programs are, how much the education, you know, affects their kids, and they just absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's a huge sort of driving factor of why people move
And
to
stay.
yeah, exactly. It's sort of the creme de la creme of school districts, and very much like a magnet, very much like a reason to pull people here.
Sure.
But part of that leads to demand, leads to expensive homes, which is definitely pretty expensive here.
And median home prices here in Minnetonka are going to be considerably higher comparatively to the cities. For all home styles, the median price here is about $450, and that is across condos, townhomes, single family. If you're looking specifically for single families to just get in entry level, we're starting at about $400,000 here.
Yeah, which, you know, median single family of the Twin Cities, like whole metro, is like $350. So the floor to even get any single family in Minnetonka is higher than that. So if you want like an average home here, single family, it's going to be quite a bit more, to the tune of like 100 or 200,000 more expensive than the median of the rest of the cities. But you know, there's a reason.
There are lots of reasons why.
Beautiful topography, beautiful geography, natural spaces.
Nice and quiet out here, lots more nature accessibility.
Yeah, and of course the schools, you know. And interesting stat, I just always find this, I don't know, maybe revealing, but not always. It's just interesting anyway. 71% of the people who live here own the home they live in, 29% rent. So definitely feels there's a high level of pride of ownership.
Sure.
You know, and so it feels like it might even be more than that. But yeah, there are some neighborhoods where they're more rental based. There are some apartments, you know, and it's so desirable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I lived here for about 8 years and loved every second of it. There's just so many things that are close to do, and the cities just wasn't far. It was a wonderful place to live.
Yeah, so easy to get to everywhere. But cool. All right, we're gonna pop over somewhere else. We're gonna talk pros and cons. Cons might be tough, but there's some. Right now we are in a neighborhood that it kind of shows off some of the upscale end of Minnetonka, but not even necessarily like the super aspirational side of Minnetonka. Like if you get lakefront, you get some absolutely wild houses.
Totally wild.
But these are beautiful, undeniably high end, but maybe in a slightly more classic suburban sense.
Yeah, you've got some ponds, you got some beautiful landscaping going on. For me, peaceful streets and being able to access the outdoors. I want to open the door, put my bare feet on the grass, and experience a beautiful yard. That is mine.
Yeah.
And Minnetonka will give you that.
Yeah, I think that is first pro, right? Is that beautiful outdoor space, the topography, like the way the land is sort of situated, the way houses are situated on the land, all just so beautiful. And probably obvious, I say this every video, well, as long as it is a pro for me, great schools, like elite schools.
Very
top
elite,
5.
Wonderful schools. I think that there's a pride not only in like the schools, but in the ownership of our properties. I mean, you can see that by every yard. I mean, it's beautifully landscaped. Yeah. There's tons of wonderful details, and everyone just keeps up on it, and it just kind of gives you that like really just like nice, clean vibe. Yep.
Yeah, it's a undeniably well manicured city, residential, you know, for the most part. We'll get to that in a second, but the huge majority of homes are extremely well manicured. Public space is extremely well manicured, which I think ties into my next pro pretty well, which is just that the homes here on the whole, beautiful, really nice lot sizes. And as a buyer, for the most part, the homes are very well taken care of. Not a whole lot of like homes with an immense amount of like deferred maintenance here as a buyer. People, it's affluent, so people take care of their stuff for the most part. And, you know, I think that just lends to potentially taking possession of a home that has been cared for
Yes.
for many, many years.
Absolutely. Knowing things are going to be well maintained for the most part, assuming. And then just, yeah, I love the wide driveways, the wide streets. There's just, for
3-car
me,
garages.
yeah, there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
I personally really, really enjoy that, and that's super important to me.
I mean, they have a horseshoe driveway. That's pretty cool. That's not half bad at all.
And I think another great perk is, though you have nature and beautiful residential areas, you're still really close to accessing things like the huge Ridgedale Mall here.
Huge.
Is awesome. Tons of shops. I mean, it's just, you're still really close to it while still kind of being in your own little oasis, which I love.
Yeah, tons of suburban amenities. The mall is awesome. So, Targets, whatever. It's like
Yes.
all that stuff is quite within reach.
Absolutely.
No matter where you are.
Like 5-10 minute drive, it's very close.
Yeah, but yet you have this feeling of being removed.
Very.
That's a fairly special, fairly unique proposition in any sort of metro. But with all that said, let's talk cons. These are actually a little bit hard to come up with because it is such like a desirable spot.
Yes.
I think almost any desirable spot comes with some cons, some of which are just associated with the idea of a lot of people want to live there.
Yeah.
First of which, expensive.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're gonna be paying more to live here with all of the amenities and the space that you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm. And it's like people want to live here. People bid up the prices, so the value
Yeah.
goes up in these areas.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, which kind of then gives you that sort of exclusive feel, maybe, where you're
yeah,
saying
hoity-toity,
Yeah.
like and there's a little bit of even just like a notion that Minnetonka is, fancy.
Your nose goes up just like a little.
Yeah. But that said, you lived here.
I
I
did.
don't know that was necessarily your experience.
No,
but
not at all. I mean, I felt very down to earth. People are out. They're out running. They're walking their animals. I mean, it seemed like a nice community to me in my experience. For
yeah,
sure, but
I think that generally is a projection,
Yeah.
right? For the most part.
I think so.
There might be though a little bit of like a keeping up with the Joneses going on.
Very much.
There's a good amount of money here,
Yep.
and so people, peacock maybe a little bit. But
Loves it.
I love a good house. So
Yeah.
I love like a cool, unique, aesthetically, interesting house. So I'm not
Yes.
even really trying to
Yeah.
throw shade, as the Gen Zers say.
Hey.
But it, that is a thing. It's
Yeah.
and if you are, if you come from less means, if you're like barely squeaking into the neighborhood, you might, I don't know, you might feel that. You might notice that or,
Mm-hmm.
internalize some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you'll find there are parts of Minnetonka that are a little bit older, and sometimes they will be a little bit dingier. There'll be lots of stuff in the yard. So you do find that in
Yeah.
certain areas.
Yeah, the older sections where the homes are maybe 60s,
Yep.
50s, 60s, 70s. There's still some really beautiful homes, some huge lot sizes,
Yes.
but it's just the occasional section where you're like, huh, this is Minnetonka, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Which is what kind of a little back and forth of well, it's a testament. They love living here. They've lived here their whole lives, probably since the 60s. However, the yards and stuff maybe aren't as kept up as in certain areas.
yeah, exactly. And same with some of the commercial stuff.
Yes.
Again, Minnetonka's existed for quite a while. And so some of the commercial areas are just I don't know, leave a little something to be desired,
Yeah.
Mostly 60s era strip malls. I don't know, I find them very uninspiring. And there are some of those here, you know.
Yeah.
That's nitpicky, and I know it, but that's who I am as a person. I think another con is that there's not always a lot of inventory.
Yes.
Depending on your price range, there's also such a wide variety of home prices here
Mm-hmm.
that if you're like, I want to live in Minnetonka for $600, it's okay, you can, but there's not going to be that many homes in Minnetonka
Right.
that sort of fit that price range, and then are the right combination of price and I don't know,
Yeah.
finishes and all that.
Absolutely agree. And then sometimes certain areas too, I mean, you have the highways here, though at times they're really nice because they're pretty chill 2-lane highways. You're going to also kind of run into those traffic times where they are going to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you do have to, that's the one con I will say living here. There's certain highways like Highway 7. You hit it the right time of day, you're gonna be sitting there for like a little bit.
Yeah, like it's mostly great to drive on, but there's stop signs.
Yeah.
And like you might be stuck at a stop sign for like 4 cycles. Yeah. And that is pretty
Everyone's
annoying.
doing the Minnesota and I think you go. No, you go. You go.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, speaking of like the exclusiveness, I remember I got pulled over once when I was in like my band days, just because we had an ugly van. I swear that's the only reason. Yeah. Just because we had an ugly van. So I think that speaks to some of that.
Yeah, lots of nice cars here.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, for a ton. You'll see a lot of
G-Wagons,
higher end G-Wagon, Porsche, etc. And I think last con is basically that it's no surprise. It's a suburb. It's a fairly affluent suburb, and so it can be a bit cookie cutter, a bit bland, in like a classically suburban, insulated kind of way.
Very true.
But that said, would I have enjoyed growing up here? I'm sure. Would I maybe had some angst about it? Probably. But I think any suburban kid does.
Sure.
You know. So yeah, I think that's.
We had to get pretty nitpicky on those cons though.
God, we sure did.
Not gonna lie.
It is beautiful. I mean, you see these houses. They're stunning. Yeah. You know, and yeah. All right. Let's talk through some other areas that you might want to consider if you like what you see here in Minnetonka. In just a second.
Walking through the middle of one of my favorite parks in Minnetonka. It's called Purgatory Creek Park. It's like this oasis of escaping the city but still being in the city. I love coming here, walking dogs, going for runs myself. I mean, you could take some awesome photos at this place. The nature is incredible. Yeah, it's beautiful. Obviously, like it's toward the end of fall right now, and it's still beautiful. Some stuff's still holding on to its color. But yeah, during the winter, really all seasons, it's a cool spot. I actually think I shot this last time. So if you saw that video, I bet I did. I don't know. I just like very vividly remember being here and I think shooting video. But it's a beautiful spot. And usually I like to not have too many parks in, but Amber's like a park person. She's like, it's big on it. Outdoor space is so important to me. And it makes me feel good on the inside that I can, you know, have my cozy home and my space, but then also be able to, like, within minutes, sort of be entrenched in my own little forest. It's just so good to connect with nature, and yeah, that's super important to me.
Like if I'm ever looking for a park, like you're gonna be one of the first people I ask. Like, hey, what's a good park in this place? You know.
But all the nature.
Yeah, truly. Which we should make a best parks. Yeah. Maybe like 3 different versions of that or something. But
have to do that.
Subscribe. Okay. If you watch these videos, you know that we have a section we call our For Fans Of section, which is to say, if you like what you see here, check out these other spots because they have similarity. But before we do that, I would just like to say that if you are thinking about moving here, get a hold of us. We'll crush it for you. Nobody works harder than we will. You can go to our website, tothetwincities.com. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds or less. Or you can shoot us an email directly to info@tothetwincities.com. The relocation thing, the first time home buyer thing, and really more and more, all sorts of real estate sort of endeavors. It's what we do. It's what we do better than anybody else. But let's dive in. What are some other spots that feel like Minnetonka? Amber has some clients, a beautiful family who is looking like in this general area.
They're looking in this area, as well as Eden Prairie, I would say, is another good contender for this type of vibe. It's a great For Fans Of, Yeah, Plymouth, also another one just like a little bit north of here.
Yep.
Plymouth Maple Grove area, you're gonna get that nice suburbia sort of feel, the yards, the houses, like that kind of a vibe. Yep. So that's where we're looking. But I know there's some good spots across the...
I think both those are like really good because of the You have similar housing stock,
Mhm.
very good schools across the board. They all have like a mall of some sort.
They do.
They're like great examples of suburbia, but that's all kind of on the west side.
Yep.
So I always like to try to find things in other parts of the metro. If you're
Mhm.
like, well, yeah, that's cool, but I work in, I don't know, Hastings. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Totally.
St. Paul or something. Yeah, yeah.
Totally understood. I think in the southern end, Lakeville is probably the closest example.
Mhm.
It's a little newer though,
Yeah.
but really good schools, tons of amenities.
Great parks.
Yeah, great parks, great, lakes and stuff like that.
Golf courses.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's in the name. But
Never thought about that.
yeah, I know. I remember
The Ville of Lakes.
the video I was doing of it the first time. I was like, man, there's a lot of lakes here. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, it's literally called that. But you have, I think, to the sort of east side,
Yep.
Woodbury is
Woodbury,
probably the best,
Yeah, there's lots of woods there too.
Yeah,
That's the name.
who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, Woodbury, I would say it would be a really close. I mean, you have the houses, the space, the
Schools.
large streets, the schools,
Yeah.
the peaceful kind of open areas.
The very like developed neighborhoods where there's like a giant boulder with a name on it.
Yes.
That's very Woodbury, very Minnetonka.
Yeah.
And then to the north, it's a little harder to the north.
I mean, we hit Maple Grove. That could probably be like the closest, maybe.
I'm even
but
trying to think anything northeast, maybe a Lake Elmo, but not really.
Yeah.
It's a little
you
more
got little
rural.
pockets, like some little pockets there.
Yeah, maybe in Arden Hills, a shore view,
Mhm.
something like that. But none of those are quite as bougie, dare I say.
Picturesque as some
Yeah.
of the vibes that Minnetonka offers. Yeah.
Yeah, and quite as like I don't know, expensive and whatever. One spot, if this is outside of your budget, one area that we see people looking is St. Louis Park.
Yes.
So if maybe you're like, I can just squeak in to Minnetonka, or I could get a much nicer house
Yep.
in St. Louis Park, geographically close together.
Yes.
It's even closer to the city. So yeah.
And there are some neighborhoods there that do rival kind of the vibes here, with like maybe like rivaling like the maybe Edina area, sort of Minnetonka. You got the houses, but it is a little bit more compact, being that it is closer to the city.
And actually, Edina.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe we didn't say Edina.
Edina, Eden Prairie.
Yeah. Really good similarities.
Yep. Schools.
The northeast quadrant is a little more city, but yeah, I think that's what we got.
Yeah. That's what we got.
We're also almost to the parking lot. A little peek behind the curtain.
Thanks
So
for coming with us on this journey.
yeah, thanks for hanging out. See you in the next video. Say what's up to Amber in the comments. And yeah, bye.
Bye.